Welcome to another episode, everyone. And these are gang leaders, angry gang leaders, according to the title, reacting to life sentences in court. Apparently, they're not happy. Let's get into it.
When gang leaders face sentencing in court, their reactions are a mixed bag. Some show remorse.
And I hurt two little girls, so I deserve to be punished.
Others remain defiant till the end. And then, there are those who surprise you. Take this one convict. He is cool as ice until the judge tells him to pay the victim's family. This one even finds his sentencing amusing. In this video, we will look at some of the most unbelievable reactions displayed by gang leaders during their sentencing. Pedro Espinosa was convicted of killing 17-year-old Jamiel Shaw II, a high school football player, on March 2, 2008 in Los Angeles. Shaw was shot by two Hispanic men while walking home from the Beverly Center. He was first shot in the stomach, then in the hands, with the bullet traveling into his face. Shaw was taken to a hospital, but later died from his injuries. Espinosa was a member of the 18th Street Gang and was residing in the U.S. illegally. He had previously been arrested in November 2007 on gun charges and assault on a police officer. He was released from jail 4 months early on March 1, 2008, and murdered Shaw the next day. Espinosa was charged with first-degree murder and convicted on May 9, 2012. The jury sentenced him to death on May 23, 2012.
While the defendant was an active participant.
Damn, sentenced to death. Damn, I just did a story where dude killed 6 people and just got life. I brought that story to my members, but he was sentenced to death for the one. But you know, they said he was over here illegally or whatever, and that he had a criminal rap sheet, but still sentenced to death. Let's see.
In a criminal street gang, and the murder was carried out to further the activities of that criminal street gang. The defendant, Pedro Espinosa, shall be put to death within the walls of the California State Prison at San Quentin, in the manner prescribed by law.
Espinosa stayed very calm during his sentencing. In fact, the only thing that seemed to upset him was the judge's order to pay for his victim's funeral expenses.
A defendant is also ordered to pay to the State Victim Compensation Board reimbursement in the sum of $7,500. The people have submitted paperwork, and the defense is submitting on that. And that is to cover the funeral and the burial expenses.
Espinosa told authorities he was willing to kill for his gang, even if it meant facing the death penalty. He also bragged to a parole supervisor about wanting to end up on death row to show his loyalty to the gang. Espinosa's lawyer argued during the trial that Espinosa didn't get a fair trial and that his defense was weak. However, Judge Ronald Rose dismissed these arguments. He stated that the evidence clearly showed Espinosa had planned Shaw's murder and boasted about it afterward. Jamiel Shaw II's murder caused a lot of controversy and political debate about Los Angeles being a sanctuary city. People argued over Special Order 40, a rule meant to make communities safer by stopping local officials from asking about residents' immigration status. The next entry is a truly terrifying man who openly admitted he enjoyed killing and would love to do it again.
Let me talk to you just a little bit, Mr. Pate. How old are you?
25.
And what's your full name?
David Adam Pate.
Charged with murder. You understand what you're charged with?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that murder carries a minimum sentence of 30 years and up to life.
David Adam Pate is a Lancaster man convicted of murder. Pate had a split tongue and tattoos on his forehead, including 974 and Satan. These tattoos are codes for the Insane Gangster Disciples gang. In October 2013, he lured 33-year-old Ricky James into the woods with wine and then stabbed him 39 times with a butcher knife, like the one used by Michael Myers in the Halloween movies. Pate hid James near a bush, where children found it a month later. Pate confessed to the police that he planned to decapitate James and returned to the scene to hide the body because he wanted to kill someone else there. He also admitted to tying James up with a rope from his neck to his ankles, planning to drag the body to a nearby creek. However, he was too drunk and tired to follow through with his plan.
As stated, he says he'd like to do it again.
Damn. He was too drunk and tired to carry through with his plan. Other than that, he was trying to decapitate the man. He planned this out. They haven't said why yet, what the motive was or is. I can only imagine, but they saying he from the Insane Gangster Disciples. White guy. Clearly, Unhinged.
and enjoyed what he did. Life's the only thing that makes sense here.
Evil person standing before you. If anybody ever deserved life in prison, it's David.
Pate had a long history of crime, including prison time for burglary and other offenses since he was 17 years old. He was already in jail for disorderly conduct when he was identified as a suspect in James's murder. Police discovered over 20 knives and more than 20 masks in Pate's home. DNA evidence connected him to the crime scene. His family also reported that he was covered in blood and tried to burn his clothes after the murder. Pate's violent actions shocked the community, and even his brothers called him the devil, wishing he would suffer in prison. Pate admitted to the murder and was sentenced to life without parole.
State versus David Allen Pate, having pled guilty to murder, sentence to court as he be committed to the State Department of Corrections for a determined term of life. Thank you. Please hold your emotions here and follow you.
Hey there, no need to adjust your TV, or more likely your phone. You're watching a recycled commercial. See, at Mint Mobile,
Do that outside the court.
His reaction to the sentence says it all. This man feels no remorse whatsoever. While Pate might have acted alone, up next, we have a group of at least 5 gang members responsible for the brutal murder of an innocent teenager. On June 20th, 2018, Lisandro Jr. Guzman left his apartment in the Bronx to meet a friend. He saw 4 cars, got scared, and started running. Gang members chased him down the block until he tried to hide in Bodega, a grocery store on Bathgate Avenue. At first, the owner of the grocery store didn't let Jr. hide behind a counter because he didn't know what was going on, but when he saw Jr.'s fear, he changed his mind and let him hide. Sadly, one of the gangsters saw Jr., pulled him outside, and took him to the other gang members who were waiting. Jr. was viciously attacked with machetes and knives. He tried to get back into the store, but was sent back outside. Surveillance and cell phone videos caught the horrifying scene as he stumbled out of the bodega and ran toward a hospital just a block away. He collapsed near the hospital and died from his injuries.
All of these men, and I say men, took part in one of the most disturbing murders that this city and this nation has ever seen.
Murder happened because of a mistake. A gang member's cousin, Stephanie Estacio, and her boyfriend, Irving Ozuna, were in a sex video. To protect her boyfriend, Stephanie falsely claimed that Junior was the guy in the video, as he looked a lot like the real culprit. She tricked Junior into meeting her by asking to borrow money. The killing sparked public outrage, and the hashtag Justice for Junior went viral on social media. 14 members of the Trinitarios gang were arrested. 5 attackers from the video, Jonaiki Martinez Estrella, Jose Muniz, Elvin Garcia, Manuel Rivera, and Antonio Hernandez, were convicted of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, gang assault, and conspiracy. They received life sentences. The last gang members were sentenced in January 2023, and they showed no emotions.
After sentencing the
Jeez, that's crazy. What the hell happened here? What? Made a sex tape, and it wasn't even him that made the tape. I'm confused. I don't know what happened. And then she called him up to set him up and had these dudes, these 14 gang members, believing that it was him in the tape. But if it was him, so what? It sounded like it was a consensual sex tape. So I don't understand why they would be want to brutally kill him with machetes out in the open on camera. He almost got away. He ran into that store. He probably should have, he was in all of that fear, probably couldn't talk. Probably should have been telling the owner from the beginning that people are chasing me, man, just let me hide right here. Because that was precious time when the owner was pushing him over the counter trying to get him back. And then by the time he got over the counter and ducked down, they was in there and they had spotted him. One of the dude that spotted him. Had he ran it, had he been able to duck down sooner, I don't know. He could have been saved, but this is crazy. This was vicious. Over what?
last gang member telling her after 5 years of waiting for justice, this is the last page of the final chapter of a very long case. But he understands her and her family's wounds will never close.
Lisandro Guzman Feliz's murder scarred the city. This led to calls for better safety measures, like the proposed Juniors Law, to install panic buttons in small businesses. So far, no one in these entries has shown any remorse, but the next entry features someone who actually apologized for his crimes.
Just found my actual dream bag on eBay. This super rare center from a seller in Philly. Sports car driver.
Tariq Jackson was convicted of killing 20-year-old Keandre Duff in a gang-related incident in Ypsilanti, Michigan in 2015. Jackson was part of the Ypsilanti gang Rack Life, or its offshoot, Finesse Gang. The murder was thought to be due to a clash between Rack Life and a rival gang, BOH. During his sentencing, Jackson apologized to Duff's family and recognized the harmful consequences of gang involvement.
First off, I just want to say sorry to the family of the victim. I wish the situation would have played out like that. I never thought that my choices and decisions would have affected so many people. You know, no mother deserves to bury her son, and no mother deserves to see her son change. My bad choice led to a lose-lose situation for me, my family, and the family of the victim.
He said that living in gangs isn't worth risking 16 years in prison or even death, as it can lead to severe consequences.
So just to my brother, Jamar, and everybody, you know, everybody around my age and other people that I be with, you know, the life that we was living, being in gangs and all that other stuff, it ain't worth 16 years or death.
In court, Duff's mother, Marquita Claiborne, spoke directly to Jackson. She said that she and her late son forgave him. She also pointed out the lack of support and guidance for young men in similar situations.
When our children make these decisions out here, they don't understand how it affects everybody. But he forgives you. And I forgive you. I don't hate you.
Jackson not only pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, but also admitted to armed robbery, weapons charges, and lying under oath. He was sentenced to 17 to 40 years in prison. Next up, we have a
Shit, he got off easy. He didn't get a life sentence. I wouldn't say easy, 17 to 40 years. But an armed robbery and a murder, and what strength coming from the mother. What grace and strength to sit in open court with the person that brutally unalived your child and say that you forgive him and that your child forgives him. Obviously, she knows her son's heart, and that I don't think she would be saying that if she didn't believe that it were true, that her son would indeed be forgiven his killer. What beautiful people. And such a tragedy for him to lose his life, and then now this young man, 17 to 40 years, you know, lost a big chunk of his life. If you can make it out of prison, once you get in there are no guarantees.
Convict who was found guilty of murdering a fellow gang member. Lee Manuel Rios was found guilty of first-degree murder in 2015 for killing 18-year-old Kenneth Lopez in Springfield, Massachusetts. Both Rios and Lopez were in the Latin Kings gang, but they had a falling out, possibly leading to the murder. Nelson Rios, the brother of Rios, testified against him. He said that Lee confessed to shooting Lopez in the back with a .38 caliber gun. Nelson had an agreement with the prosecution because he was also facing charges related to firearms. Lee Rios was charged not only with murder, but also with robbery, drug crime.
So his own brother snitched on him. His brother snitched on him. His brother likes cheese. His brother is a rat. Snitched on him, they just said, not because he's involved in this murder as well, but because he has unrelated weapon charges. So who knows how much time he's facing? 3, 4, 5 years. You snitch on your brother about a murder where he's facing life. No loyalty.
And other offenses. He was convicted and given a life sentence with no chance of parole. He showed no emotions as his sentence was read.
As to count 1, jury having convicted you of murder in the first degree, sir, I'm sentencing you to NCIC.
Ever wondered what your home looks like from space? Enter your address and get a 360-degree satellite.
Too late.
Conjunction for the term of your life without the possibility of parole.
The next entry features a dramatic courtroom outburst when the convict's attorney declared he deserved his harsh sentence. On June 22, 2020, 22-year-old Travis Henry Jr. was found dead in the street at the corner of 17th Avenue and Nina Street in Columbus, Georgia. He had been shot in the torso and his black BMW was stolen. Lydell Maynard Trapper Sparks, along with Wayman McMillian, Kalia Sumter, and Terriona Horton, were accused of robbing and killing Henry. Sumter and Horton reportedly lured Henry to Columbus, Georgia. Sparks, 21 years old at the time, was charged with felony murder, armed robbery, using a gun to commit a crime, and having a firearm while on probation. He was found guilty of all charges and faced the possibility of life sentence without parole. During the trial, McMillian, Sumter, and Horton testified that Sparks fired the fatal shot. However, when they took the stand, none of them admitted to planning the robbery. Sparks
So they all snitched too. They all told on him and said that he pulled the trigger. Told on Tyreek Sparks or whatever his name is. 21 years old or so at the time. Man, this is crazy. But what? Took his BMW. You can't drive his car around once you done killed him. It's not like you can do anything with it. All four of y'all done wasted your life and then took this man's life really for nothing. They were all young, and when you're young, you make stupid decisions. But my goodness. And then they all went to court and pointed the finger at him. This is what they do.
Attorney pointed out that Henry didn't seem to have been robbed because a wad of cash and a broken silver necklace were discovered next to the body. Lydell Sparks was eventually sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole.
This is to imprisonment for life without possibility of parole.
His own lawyer said he deserved punishment.
He will be severely punished. Everything in his life, what happened, is going to be taken from him. And he deserves it. He did it himself. God didn't do it to him. The DA didn't do it to him. He did it himself.
After his sentencing, Sparks asked to address the court. He criticized his lawyer, the judge, and the district attorney, questioning the validity of witness testimony and accusing the victim's family. Sparks insisted he was innocent, claiming the witnesses had lied. He expressed frustration, asking how the court could believe dishonest people were accusing him of a crime that could cost him his life.
I'm been accused of negligence for something that I had nothing to do with, and I'm 21 years old. See some people that's lying. These two female stories are not even the same. How do they get their charges dropped to different sentences? These females, these people don't get this man on come here and cry and
Some of Sparks' family left the courtroom during his outburst, while others reacted with laughter. The judge ended the hearing and moved on to the next case. We will be heading to Africa for our next entry. George Gueld.
Get up to $4,000 instantly for surprise bills, home repairs.
Thomas led
a lot of people do that, you know, once you're at sentencing, they say they still proclaim their innocence after a jury has convicted them. Some are innocent, very few, but most are not. But his whole family walked out on him during that speech during his sentencing. That's not good.
The 28's gang, known as one of South Africa's fiercest gangs in Bishop Lavis, Cape Town. He was found guilty and sentenced in 2015 for crimes committed from 1999 to 2010. Thomas was charged with around 52 offenses, including 7 counts of murder, racketeering, 3 counts of attempted murder, illegal possession of bullets and guns, breaking into homes to rob, robbery under severe circumstances, and various gang-related charges under the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act. He was sentenced to a total of 175 years in prison, receiving life terms for each of the 7 murders he committed. The trial lasted 4 years and involved 18 co-defendants, with only 1 being acquitted of all charges.
These offenders who have been sentenced today will serve their sentences under heightened security and supervision so as to ensure that they do not perpetrate any criminal activities inside.
He was convicted of multiple murders spanning several years. The trial exposed the criminal operations of the 28's gang, uncovering a pattern of violence, extortion, and a large stash of weapons. The gang operated with a clear structure and funded its members through drug sales, extortion, and robberies. For some reason, he found the sentencing process funny and couldn't stop laughing. Thomas's advocate, Janos Mihalik, described him as leading a simple life, selling fish for a living. In contrast, prosecutors argued that the wealth displayed by gangsters came from crime, not from selling fish. The next involves a gang member who received a well-deserved maximum sentence for a chilling crime.
He was laughing a lot. Sometimes you have to stop, you have to laugh to keep yourself from crying. it is what it is at this point, even though, you know, if he's committed 7 murders, that's nothing to laugh at, obviously. But the fact that your life is now being taken, you know, sitting there hooping, hollering, and crying, you should be remorseful, though, if you have taken someone's life.
Abel Gallegos was found guilty of murdering 28-year-old Simone Duran in 2018 in Golden, Colorado. Gallegos and another man named Alonzo Quintana were both part of the same gang. Duran had identified Quintana as a suspect in an Adams County shooting, which made her a target for retaliation. On November 5, 2018, Gallegos used social media to lure Duran to a house in Denver, where she met him and other gang members. Later, they assaulted her at a parking lot at West Colfax and Kipling. They then took her to a remote area at 7th and Nile in Golden, where Quintana joined them, and Duran was shot 10 times. Gallegos and Quintana left the scene, but came back later. They poured gasoline on Duran's body and set it on fire. Firefighters found her body while responding to a fire incident.
It was a horrific crime. I am struck by the casualness in which it was committed, the absolute
This may be the last ad you see.
Wow.
With Pi Ad Block, visit your favorite websites and watch ads disappear. How
Disregard that because she's supposed to be an informant on a case against one of them in a shootout or whatever. You heard it. And so one of these dudes lured her through social media or what have you, or however, to some place where they beat her out in the parking lot or something. Then took her somewhere and shot her 10 times. That's overkill, making sure she's dead. This was personal. Further evidence that it was personal is that they left the crime scene. You never come back to where you just committed a crime. They left the crime scene, got away, at that moment anyway, from the crime scene. Not everyone gets away from the crime scene. Most don't. You got away from a crime scene. To return to the crime scene means that you're crazy and that this was personal. You're willing to risk your life because you've already gotten away, at least for now, from the immediate situation. They returned to the crime scene, poured gasoline on her, and then lit her on fire. She was already dead. They shot her 10 times. She was already dead. Super overkill, super personal, vicious, and heinous crime here.
For human life.
Gallegos was arrested and faced a 3-week trial with 50 witnesses and over 400 pieces of evidence. He was found guilty of 2 first-degree murder charges, plotting murder, and kidnapping in the second degree. This marked his 6th felony conviction, with parole or probation being revoked 8 times before. On January 31st, 2020, Gallegos received a life sentence in prison without any chance for parole, along with an additional 163 years behind bars.
This is the result. This is where you will end up, with your family and friends crying as you're let out of the courtroom to serve the rest of your life in prison.
The following entry involves teenage brothers who remained completely emotionless during their sentencing. Brothers Anthony and Michael Stephen Carpio were convicted of murdering 18-year-old Kevin Orellana in a gang-related incident on April 24, 2013 at Cleveland High School in Reseda, Los Angeles. On the day of the murder, the Carpio brothers, who are from the Rockwood Street gang, confronted Orellana while he was playing handball at the high school. Michael challenged him by asking about his gang affiliation, leading to a fistfight. Anthony then pulled out a knife and stabbed Orellana 10 times in the head, neck, and torso. The case was quickly solved with the help of social media and an accidental phone call from one of the gang members who recorded their conversation during the getaway. The brothers were found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 15 to 16 years to life in prison.
The Carpio brothers will not be eligible for parole until the year 2028, and by then, both of them will be in their early 30s.
Anthony and Michael Carpio sat without showing any emotion during the sentencing. Next, we will look into the case of a gangster jailed for murdering a popular rapper and fellow gang member. Eric Ronald Holder Jr. was convicted of the 2019 murder of rapper Nipsey Hussle in Los Angeles, California. Holder was a member of the Rolling 60s set of the Crips street gang, the same gang Hussle allegedly belonged to. On March 31, 2019, Eric Holder Jr. walked up to Nipsey Hussle outside his Marathon clothing store near Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard. They talked briefly, and Hussle reportedly mentioned rumors that Holder had been informing the authorities about the Rolling 60s gang. Holder left, but came back minutes later with 2 guns. He started shooting in the parking lot, killing Hussle and injuring 2 other men. Hussle, whose real name was Ermias Asgadom, was 33 years old when he died. Holder ran away with a woman he was dating, who unknowingly became his getaway driver. She was later...
Of course, we all know this and all remember this. Eric Holder was beaten up. You see him in court with black eyes, closed eyes. He's been beat up everywhere he's went, and I don't know how long he may or may not survive there in prison since he was convicted of killing Nipsey Hussle. But he was going through hell in the Los Angeles County Jail, even though he was in protective custody. They were still finding ways to get to him when he would come out for court or what have you, even though he's being escorted by deputies. When it's on, it's on. When it's up, it's up. They're still coming to attack you. So I know he was going through a lot.
Given immunity and became a crucial witness for the prosecution. On February 22, 2023, Eric Holder Jr. was sentenced to 60 years to life in prison. This includes 25 years to life for the murder, 25 extra years for using a firearm, and 10 years for assault with a firearm. Unlike Holder Jr., the next person in this video shows genuine regret for his actions. Justin Jarman was a member of the Detroit Taking Over gang in Cleveland, Ohio. On October 4, 2016, he participated in a drive-by shooting aimed at a member of the rival Denison Boys gang. Jarman fired shots from the rear of a stolen sedan outside a residence on Dudley Avenue and West 73rd Street. However, instead of hitting his intended targets, Jarman's bullets accidentally hit 2 young girls who were sitting on their family's porch. Savannah Davis, 3 years old, was struck in the face and lost nearly half of her skull. Jarman admitted guilt to attempted murder, being part of a criminal gang, and other charges related to the shooting.
And I hurt 2 little girls, so I deserve to be punished.
At least he knows he deserves to be punished. At least he's saying that. Not all people are so endowed to admit wrong and to take accountability. And he was young. Still, man, you have to be careful with these drive-bys or walk-bys or run-bys, letting off these weapons, squeezing these triggers. You're nowhere near hitting your target. The car speeding by as you're shooting. You haven't taken target practice. This is how innocent people lose their lives. Now look, you done shot a 3-year-old girl sitting on her porch, had nothing to do with it. Obviously 3 years old. And she done lost half her skull or some shit. Lucky to still be alive and lost half her skull. I don't know what happened to the other girl. I guess her sister or something. Let's see what happened to her. People who are not gang members had nothing to do with the beef that you got going on with this person or people that you're trying to unalive. These drive-bys and run-bys and walk-by shootings.
Their family gotta live with the pain forever that I caused. I wish I could rewind, but I can't.
He also pleaded guilty to a separate robbery in January 2017, where he threw a 73-year-old man to the ground at a train stop and stole his money. In December 2017, 18-year-old Jarman was sentenced to 41 years in prison. He expressed regret during sentencing, saying he wished he had chosen books over guns.
I was at a point of time in my life when I was lost. I was trying to be something I wasn't. Land, drugs, friends, and peers influenced me to do things I wouldn't even know to do. And if I could one, I'll put down the gun and pick up a book.
The next entry, which is also the last one, is about a rapper and a gang member who was convicted of killing a young boy. Antonio Lil Tony Davenport Jr. is a rapper from North Carolina who was charged with the 2019 gang-related murder of 9-year-old Zion Person in Durham. On August 18, 2019, Davenport, a member of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, along with Derek Dixon and Deval Magwood, participated in a drive-by shooting aimed at rival gang members. They accidentally shot at an SUV carrying children, resulting in the death of Zion Person.
Now guess what? What you doing with you killing somebody? You took your life in ours and theirs over something simple.
Davenport denied.
See? I just said it. I'm just talking about these drive-by shootings. That's not gangster. You from a gangster hood, but that ain't gangster. Because innocent people lose their life. We just said it. Just saw it. Where the 3-year-old girl was shot, lost half her skull. Now a 9-year-old boy lost his life. For what? What the fuck did he do? These dudes are weird with these drive-by shootings. Got a problem with someone and you trying to take him out. You know, get up on him, take care, face to face, man to man, mano a mano. Get up on him and take care of business. On him and him only. Y'all shooting out these fucking cars and shit, driving by, shooting all kind of people, shooting into a car with a 9-year-old boy in there. And whoever the target was inside of this car, it wasn't the 9-year-old boy, so y'all don't know what y'all doing.
Any involvement in the killing and rejected the idea that it was gang-related, blaming informants who were looking for lighter sentences. His attorney claimed that Davenport wasn't part of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, but belonged to a different Crips group. At the time of the crime, Davenport was wearing an ankle monitor due to pending domestic violence charges. Data from the monitor placed him at the murder scene, as well as at the homes of Dixon and Magwood before and after the shooting, and at other places relevant to planning and covering up the crime. A middle school surveillance camera captured Davenport's car following the victim's car just before the shooting. Soon after the crime, Davenport had his car repainted black. Investigators found a 9mm handgun in his girlfriend's car, and forensic analysis connected this handgun to the murder. However, Davenport's girlfriend and the mother of his child testified that she bought ammunition for him the day before the incident. She also admitted that police found a gun connected to the shooting in her car, and Davenport asked her to claim it was hers when questioned by the police. Davenport was charged with murder related to gang activity, possessing a...
Everybody snitching in these stories. His girlfriend snitching on what he thought she was going to do. Really?
Firearm during a violent crime and causing Zion Person's death. In March 2021, Davenport's co-defendants Dixon and Magwood admitted to being part of a racketeering conspiracy and committing a violent crime to support it. Their plea deals described the history of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, their feud with the O-Block gang, and their initiation ritual, which involved beating new members for 83 seconds. On October 4, 2022, Antonio Lil Tony Davenport Jr. was sentenced to life in prison.
At peace. My baby got justice. He's not here. I'm going to forever be in pain. But to know that they're going for life definitely makes me happy.
If you enjoyed this video, click...
Wow. All right, that's deep. Gang members reacting to life sentences. It seemed like just a couple of them were somewhat remorseful. Most of them were not, had little to no reaction. And a lot of these killings, of course, were senseless. I can't get over the one where they shot the girl 10 times, left, and then came back. Took time out to go buy gas or already had gas somewhere in a can. Get a lighter and know that you're coming back to a crime scene where a woman is lying there dead, having been shot 10 times at your hands, and still come back and pour gasoline on her and light it. That's crazy. But all of these motherfuckers was crazy. I mean, you gotta be careful with these drive-by shootings. That's really the lesson here. You know, how many people have lost their lives over these drive-by shootings where people just don't know what the hell they're doing. Stay safe and stay free, people.